Hi, greetings to Sir Anthony, our lecturer for this subject, Workplace Action Research Project 1, OSH 2612. So, for today's presentation 1 will be the sampling method. This is my group member. My name is Anderson Empaling, followed by AB Ellisa, Abraham Amos, and Kerry Keri. So, we proceed to slide 1. What is sampling technique? Sampling technique are the process by which the subset of the population from which you will collect data chosen. Or in the next slide, we will see some of the example of sampling technique. Number one in sampling technique is the probability sampling. The sampling method in which all the members of the population has a pre-specified and equal chance to be a part of the sample. Number two, this technique is based on the randomization principle, wherein the procedure is so designed which guarantees that each and every individual of the population has an equal selection opportunity. And the last one is this helps to reduce the possibility of bias. So this is some of the example. The methods of probability sampling. Number one is simple random sampling. Number two, stratified sampling. Number three, cluster sampling. And the last one is systematic sampling. So next one, I will pass to Kerry.
Hi sir, my name is Kerry. Okay, this slide is about the definition of non-probability sampling. So it is a process of selecting a sample from a population without using statistical probability theory. So each element or member of the population does not have an equal chance of being included in the sample, and from a population without using statistical probability theory. The researcher cannot estimate the error caused by not collecting data from all elements members of the population. Next. Okay, so here are the examples. Let's say that the university has roughly 10,000 students. So these 10,000 students are our population. And each of the 10,000 students is known as a unit. But it's hardly possible to get known and select every student randomly. So here we can use a non-random selection of sample to produce a result. That is called sampling. Next. Okay, why we use this technique? So here are the advantages. In this technique, the sampling process is much easier, quicker, and cheaper. And also this technique process uses the least amount of time. I mean, it is less time consuming. Okay, so next is we use it when randomization is impossible, like when the population is almost limitless. Lastly, research does not aim to generate results that will be used to create generalization pertaining to the entire population. So next. Okay, so here are the types of non-probability sampling. So as you can see in the picture below, we have the quota sampling, the convenience sampling, purposive sampling, which means judgmental. Lastly is the snowball sampling. The next slide, I will give it to Ebi.
Amos. Okay, thank you, sir, for your attention.
Thank you, sir.
Convenience sampling. Selecting easily accessible participants with no randomization. For example, in our example of 10,000 university students, if we were only interested in achieving a sample size of say 100 students, we may simply stand at one of the main entrances to campus, where it would be easy to invite the many students that pass by to take part in the research. So it is very easy, or we can say convenient, to select. Selection of participants. Type of sampling. Purposive. Selection strategy. All cases that meet some criteria. Purpose. Useful for quality assurance. Quota sampling. Definition for quota sampling: selecting participants in numbers of proportionate to their numbers in the larger population, no randomization. For example, the number of students from each group that we would include in the sample would be based on the proportion of male and female students amongst the 10,000 university students. Selection of participants, type of sampling, quota. Selection strategy: select a sample that yields the same proportions as the population's proportions on easily identified variables. Purpose: taking a set number of cases from each subgroup to raise analytic, confidence, and representativeness. Purposive judgmental sampling. Definition: purposive sampling, also known as judgmental, selective or subjective sampling, reflects a group of sampling techniques that rely on the judgment of the researcher when it comes to selecting the units that are to be studied. For example, specific people, specific cases, organizations, specific events, specific pieces of data. Selection of participants, type of sampling, purposive. Selection strategy, all cases that meet some criteria. Purpose: useful for quality assurance.
Hi, I am Ellisa and I will present about the snowball sampling. The definition are selecting participants by finding one or two participants and asking them to refer you to the others. For example, meeting a homeless person, interviewing that person, and then asking him or her to introduce you to the other homeless people you might interview. Next are selection of participants, type of sampling, snowball or chain referral. Selection strategy, group members identify additional members to be included in the sample. And for the purpose, identify cases of interest to people who know that cases are information rich. And for the drawbacks, the result really cannot be measured in non-probability sampling. There is no assurance that the estimate judgment will meet an acceptable level of error. This result in selection are biased. And the last problem of non-representativeness. Okay, for the key differences, there's two key. One is probability sampling and two is non-probability sampling. And for the meaning, probability sampling is a sampling technique in which the subjects of the population get an equal opportunity to be selected as a representative sample. For non-probability sampling is a method of sampling wherein it is not known that which individual from the population will be selected as a sample, and alternately known as for probability sampling, random sampling. For there are non-random sampling. For basis of selection, probability randomly, non-arbitrarily. Opportunity of selection for probability is fixed and known, and for non are not specified and unknown. Research, the for probability is conclusive, and for non are exploratory. The result are for probability is unbiased, and for non-probability is biased. Method are objective, for none is subjective. The inferences for probability is statistical, and for non-probability is analytical. And the last one is for is hypothesis. For probability sampling, they are tested, and for non-probability sampling, they are generated. Okay, that's for all for me. Thank you.